switching offices. So the fact that she said, don't wait, she'll join if she can. And I haven't heard from Lynn, so I'm not sure, but I think if we can get started. I'm looking at time, so it's 9 o'clock. So I'm going to take the minutes because Jill has been doing it lately.
I can't hear anybody.
So we're starting at 9. And I need a motion to accept the minutes from the last very short meeting.
So moved.
Joanne, second.
Second.
Maggie. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're good. Okay, Bernadette.
Yes, looking for
How
my
are we
notes. Here we
doing?
go. Oh, Senior Center is doing well. Transportation doing exceptionally well. Really bringing in both drivers almost every week, at least once a week so far. So transportation is really picking up. So let's see. Senior Center is we are bringing in the mobile health clinic again. That'll be here on February 13th. Let's see. I don't have my notes in front of me for whatever reason. Oh, I know, the emergency list. I've been working on that. So I actually spoke with Jerry James in regards to what exactly qualifies someone to go on the emergency list. And it's anyone who is on life-saving medical equipment. So they would go first on the list. And then after that, he said anyone who is, really just frail or alone. So when you say that, the numbers grow quite a bit. So that's something that we're working on. I have a list started. We're thinking of ways of trying to advertise appropriately to find anyone who would like to be on the list or needs to be on the list. So both Katie and I have been talking about that. Maybe Katie will speak on that in a little while. So, but pretty much we're hopping over here. Things are going very, very well, bringing in new services, building our transportation program. I'm asking for an increase in hours for my drivers in the upcoming budget. So that's about it from me.
What are the hours they have now?
So we transport, we have one driver per day from basically 8 to 3. Really, it's longer than that. Sometimes we put in a longer day, but yeah.
Don't you have 2 vehicles?
I have 2 vehicles, yes. Mm-hmm.
1 driver, 2 vehicles.
Well, I have 2 drivers.
Oh.
They just split the week up is all. And
Okay.
yes, looking for a per diem driver now. Drivers are extremely hard to come by. We've been searching for a while now. And they're a hot commodity right now.
I would drive when you had it.
You would need your public passenger endorsement license.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a physical done and go to DMV. We're talking to Millie about it. She was looking into it. So yeah, if anyone is interested in doing that and taking it on, that'd be wonderful. So, but we are reaching out looking for a per diem driver.
How big a deal is it to get your public passenger license?
Millie might want to speak on that. It's really not too bad. There's some forms to fill out from DMV, and you'll have to have a a physical done by a licensed, someone who's affiliated with.
The
DMV.
certified.
Mm.
The doctor has to be certified. You do fingerprints, background checks, all of that sort of thing. It takes a while. I went online and I read the information, and it takes a while for them to do it. The list that DMV has for certified medical people is not up to date because they said we had one in Hebron, only she's not there anymore. So that's probably the important part, is finding a certified.
I wonder if they use Corp Care where we get our physicals for the fire department. They do all kinds. I always get people in there saying they're there for DOT physicals.
Mhm.
Oh, maybe.
So, yeah, okay. I'll look into that.
Yeah, our drivers go in Willimantic somewhere. I know that that's where Rose goes at least. Mhm.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Bernadette? Excuse me. No? Okay, we're gonna go on to the second thing of old business. Maggie and I got together and we were supposed to go to the Lions meeting last Monday, and then the snow hit, and I wimped out because I have a loaner car that I'm not sure of, so I wasn't gonna drive. So they rescheduled us for February 13th. Prior to our meeting, I called Katie to ask her whether or not she thought there was a need for a fund for people that maybe didn't have enough money to pay for shoveling and plowing during the winter. And we have no statistics because it's never been done. So that's the basic beginning to it. However, Katie, you can jump in if you want to at any time. She did say that it would be something she could offer to people. She obviously hasn't been able to offer something that's non-existent. But if people come in for energy assistance or whatever, they're already in a lower income area. She also said that there was one woman she spoke with who waited until it was over 4 inches in order to have any plowing or shoveling because she just really couldn't afford it. So in the meantime, waits for the snow to melt in hopes that she doesn't fall. It's a safety thing in my mind. And Maggie and I were talking about that as well. So what we came up with Maggie and I talking, was that we would go to the Lions and ask them to partner with us in a pilot program and word it as such, that it would be a pilot program to establish money that could be tapped into for people for shoveling and plowing, initially seniors. And our referrals would come from Katie and Bernadette, because they have the handle on what's going where. And Katie said that she would administer that program, that she would be willing to add that to her list of things to do. So our proposal with Maggie and I was that we put in half of our funds, which would be $300 to seed money, and ask the Lions if they would then add to that money. And it would be a rollover fund. So the fact that our budget has to be spent within the calendar year, if people need it, the funds from our account would go first. And then it would go into whatever the Lions had put in, which would roll over to the next year and bank it. And if we find that it's really needed in town, it's something we can go to the town for more financial support for budget item and offer people that have plowing and shoveling businesses in town, if they want to be part of the program, that perhaps they would do a reduced amount for the people that would need it, and that it would probably be towards the end of their run. That might be a carrot, that they wouldn't have to be people that are done first because they're not going to work. So it would give them a little bit of flexibility in getting it done. So That's what Maggie and I came up with. And Maggie, do you have anything else? Did I forget anything? You're muted, Maggie, you're muted.
While she's
There you go.
unmuting, I just wanted to quickly state that a program similar has been started in Hebron about a car repair program. So there was some seed money, and then another program donated, and it keeps rolling over every year. And they contacted repair places in the area and asked if they wanted to be a part of it, and they did. And some really wonderful stories have come out of that program, and a lot of help, and it keeps growing. So I would be happy to speak with the person who put that together to see how it all came about, their process.
Yeah,
if that would be
that's
helpful.
great.
I think the more information we have before the February 13th meeting would be beneficial if
Right.
we vote on going that way. So Maggie, what were you going to say?
Just that you, well, I think you touched on it, but just that you had mentioned, and I thought it was a good point, is that it also is supporting the businesses in the community. So I think it's a win-win type of situation. And I think also businesses become more aware of our older residents and what their needs may be. So
We could even do it as a suggested donation. And if they wanted to pay towards it, they could, kind of like how we do with the transportation program.
and the lunch program, yeah.
One of the other things Bernadette and I talked about, the group of people who receive Meals on Wheels once a week, and that those drivers, that
Right.
about, like Bernadette was saying, when that driveway is plowed, otherwise they can't, deliver. So that would be a very specific set of people who either need the service, like a trusted source, or some of those people financially, paying for snow removal would be a burden. So if it just so happens that weather on Tuesdays, that would be maybe a perfect pilot. The other thing that's going to be happening February 1st through the spring is, applications for the homeowners tax relief program. So, the assessor's office will be taking applications there. So those would be homeowners on a fixed income. And that way we do some outreach for this pilot program if it ends up
That's a good idea.
being, something that you all want to try.
That's a great idea.
So where we are at right now is that we would need, because there are two issues. One, is this a program that we want to start? That would be one motion. And then the second motion would have to be voting on putting X amount of dollars from our budget into this project. So if anybody would like to make a motion is there any more discussion before we do? Does anybody have anything else they'd like to say? Margie, you're muted.
I'm
Oh,
on mute.
there you go.
I know, I changed person who plows for me this year. And in a couple of the people that I called to check prices on, they won't, I had to find somebody who would plow and shovel for
Correct.
various reasons. And that's very hard to do. And a lot of them will not come to plow unless you have at least 3 inches of snow. So I don't know if that is going to be something that you might want to consider when you go out to the people who you might have, plowing and shoveling, and saying, we need you to do it under 3 inches for, our seniors. Because I know if it gets to be 3 inches, I don't go outside the house because I'm not plowed. and I'm not shoveled and I'm gonna land on my butt and I don't really need to do that. That's my 2 cents.
I agree. Whoever, if we do this, it would have to be a set amount that we could do, because I don't think, some people are gonna have much larger areas than others. I'm not sure how that would all be figured out for the size and the scope of the amount that they would be paid. But I think that that's going to be details that we can hammer out once we get this thing in motion, if everybody's agreeable to doing it. So, and I think that the amount of snow is definitely a significant issue, so. But I know there are people in town that live in town that will come for any amount of snow if you ask them to, and shovel, because we have one, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, is there any more discussion on this one? No. I need a motion to start a pilot program to start with. Okay,
I'd like to make a motion
yeah,
to start a pilot program in Columbia for starting with seniors to find contractors or subcontractors or whatever who will plow and shovel eligible seniors. And I would also like to add to that we contribute $300 of our budget to that pilot program.
should we do that in 2 motions? Legality part, anybody know? Should that be 2 motions?
I can split it if you'd like.
I'm fine with both, if everybody else is.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that Lynn is here.
I got it. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Do you want to add, Margie, that it would go into a rollover fund?
Oh, yeah. Okay, and that the $300, let me see, how am I gonna, if it's a pilot,
That the $300 would be used first?
yeah, but do you want to make the Lions portion, because you don't know if the Lions are going to contribute or not? Or just say that if any other entity contributes to this fund, that our, the money from our budget would be used first, and any other money contributed would be rolled over to the next year.
Right.
Does that cover?
So let me just read it back as much as I could get. So it would be to start a pilot program in Columbia for eligible seniors for plowing and shoveling. And we fund $300 from our budget.
Mhm.
Do we have
Um,
to? in our budget?
we have 600
Okay,
from our budget. And that any other money contributed would be rolled over into the following year. I've got to put in that our money would be used first.
Yeah.
From our budget first, right? And
Right.
any other rolled over into the following year. Okay, so that's the motion.
I
Is
think-
there a second,
I second it.
Lynn? Any more discussion? Because this is a money thing. Millie?
Do we have to have something in there that just in case the $300 is not is that $300 limit isn't exceeded, that $300 comes back to CONA? Right? Say it's this summer, it's this year, and we don't have snow, and they only spend 150. Let's just say. So there's $150 sitting there that's going to evaporate at the end of the yearly budget. So do we have to have a provision so that that comes back to us to spend?
Could we say something like we would be spending up to $300 based on the need?
Or if $300 has not been spent by May 1st, that money would revert back to the Commission on Aging budget?
Right.
But is it a private is it a private fund we're starting up?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
my thought is that we are starting up an account. So you're putting the 300 into an account that'll just stay there if it's not used.
I'm not sure that the town budget will allow that, Bernadette.
That's where you're spending your $300. You're donating it to a program. And because you're gonna start this program. This will be the Commission on Aging snow removal program, or whatever you want to call it. So it's being spent that way, and then however you use it from there is however you like.
But we've in the past had to show receipts and whatever that the money was actually used.
Right, that is, so you would have to create like an invoice stating that the $300 funds are going to go to this project, this program.
Could we put that through the town hall somehow and get some advice on it?
Yeah, I would say that Bev would actually, I just had wrote down that we should talk to Bev about how we will set that up for CONA. That
Because
it would be a separate account.
CONA won't be writing the checks. We haven't figured
Right.
these out.
Right.
Is the thinking that this fund would be a separate fund in the town's budget and the town would then issue the checks?
The town would be the one to issue the checks, correct? But the town, it wouldn't be in the town's budget.
Right.
Well,
There's,
you
that's
do
what I'm saying.
you probably do
Be
need to
professional.
talk to Bev
So I
about
have
what kind of private accounts
That's what
they
they call it.
have.
But it's any funds and donations. that
Well,
come
how about,
in.
how about this
Revenue that
then,
comes in
this
for
point?
interest goes into that.
What if we did the motion to start the pilot program? One. And get that one passed. And then the money part of it, let's do as a separate motion. Can we do that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so the motion, let's do to start a pilot program in Town of Columbia for eligible seniors for plowing and shoveling. Period.
Yes,
That's our first motion. So Lynn, do you still second just that part?
I second that motion.
Okay, so any more discussion on that portion? No, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed. Opposed? No, okay. So that part is now the money. Can we word it?
Could we just talk to Bev and then take care of that later? I don't think anybody's gonna be on top of us right away for the way we're dealing with it. And maybe just have a special telephone session or Zoom session.
We could do that.
Because they're gonna have to, the town's gonna have to cut checks, but you know, if anybody gets hold that it hasn't been done the right way.
Correct.
Well, it would be
Correct.
set up maybe just like the food bank is set up. You know, donations come into it and
But do we cut checks for the, does the town?
the town cuts checks out of it and sends it to them, to the oil
Does it-
companies or.
And who does the initial seed money for that?
A donation that came in to start it.
Right,
Yeah.
but this would be money started from
From the
the
town.
town budget,
But-
which is. I'm
Yeah.
not sure that that's the same way. Well,
Well,
how
then-
about,
What if we were able to have the Lions start it with a fund and we just added to it? The Commission on Aging added to it.
But we would still, well, we would still have
And
to use any money we put in, we would have to use by that calendar year.
The other thing is that you would then be asking the Lions to do issuing the checks and all that stuff, which is,
Yeah.
we're
that's not
asking them
fair.
to partner
no,
with
no, I'm
us
not
and not be
saying that.
responsible for it.
I wasn't, yeah.
What were you saying, Bernadette?
I was just thinking of something different in my head, but now that I've thought about it a little bit more, I just think that Bev is going to be able to answer this question specifically, and I'm sure she has a way to manage it. And
I'll give her a call. I'll give her a call and
Thank you.
talk to her about it. And then I'll follow up with an email to everybody what the conversation was.
Kathy,
Very
so do
good.
we want to make a motion that once financial arrangements for this account have been established through the town, CONA would contribute $300 from its budget,
Or up to 3.
or up to 300, and we could vote on that as a motion?
We could do that. Millie, you want to make that motion?
Sure. Don't ask me to repeat it, though.
The motion was, how
Once
did you,
financial arrangements have been established for distribution of monies from this fund, CONA will make a contribution of $300 from its budget.
Up to?
Up to, yeah.
Up to.
I second.
I'm out. Okay, so we have, once arrangements have been established for disbursements from this fund, CONA will contribute up to $300.
I would put the word financial in there, I think. Once financial,
Financial arrangements. Okay,
yeah.
okay. Anything else? Okay, and then the second,
Oh,
Oh.
I'll second it.
Fine.
Second amendment. Right to bear.
any more discussion on that one?
But yeah.
If on a, let's say, pilot program and we get a set amount of people, whether it's like just the Meals on Wheels list, and programs like this are tricky because like weather dependent, what if it snows every single Tuesday? Then we're using the snow removal frequently versus, it snows just on Fridays. Maybe we don't need it as much. But trying to figure out like, would any snow removal do a contract where it's just kind of chances so that we know how much we are actually spending versus, we establish a fund and we go through the $300. Maybe the Lions Club helps a little bit, but do we tell participants if we run out of money, then that's it for the season? Or
I think it would have to be. It's a pilot program.
Right.
We have X amount of dollars in this pilot program. And if we see a need, then maybe we can increase it the following year, but it's a pilot program.
okay,
And I think once the money is gone, it's gone. And that's not going to change anything. If someone wouldn't get plowed beforehand, they're still not going to get plowed. They will at least get plowed while the funds are there. At least it's better than nothing.
right. Sure. Like if the town is holding the fund, we're making sure if we get close to zero or hit zero, then we're needing to let the snow removal companies know like, hey, go out. Like,
Right.
but yeah,
Right.
I think starting point.
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to leave the meeting. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I have an appointment.
Let's vote on this part of it. I got a second. We have the discussion. All in favor of Millie's amendments? Not amendment, motion. Aye, okay.
Bye.
All right, thank you, Maggie.
Take care.
Bye,
Thanks.
Matt.
Okay, well, I'll call Bev and find out what I can, and as I said, I'll get back to everybody on that. At least I feel like we're finally doing something. So,
And Kathy, we might also think about reaching out to other nonprofits, like the churches do some things. You know, the churches have discretionary money and things like that. And if this fund can be established and it knows perhaps some other non-business type entities would contribute to it.
I don't know.
Well, there might actually be some businesses that might want to contribute too. You know,
That's
that once,
true.
if there's a need, if we show that there is a sincere need. And again, looking down the road, then maybe it's something the town would then help fund some of as a contingency.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens. So under new business, Katie, anybody have any questions? We're glad you're here. Anybody have any questions about other things for Katie?
Katie's muted.
Katie, you're muted.
When I came on, I've had a couple computer issues, so I, switched to my phone so I could hear everybody. So I may have missed some of the updates, but I can also jump in and just share a little bit about what I've been doing, and then maybe that will spark questions.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So I think the snow removal sounds like a great project. Homeowners tax relief program starting up February 1st. So just do some outreach on that just to make sure folks are aware of that option.
Katie, what's the threshold for the amount for that? Do you know income?
Yeah, I think if you had to have been 65 as of last year or disabled, and a single person is like 40,000, and then I think a couple is about 49,000. It includes Social Security as income, and like your gross amount. So if somebody filed their taxes, it's their adjusted gross income plus any Social Security that wasn't included in that. So sometimes that's confusing. People don't think Social Security, but yeah, it's about 40,000 for single, 40,000 for a couple. And the same income, I think, is for if you were a veteran of a certain service too. But the assessor's office, they can answer questions about that as well. Bernadette and I have brainstormed on ways that we can funnel more information into the public. So, in the past, I've reached out to the churches who have included information about energy assistance in their bulletin, but doing a little blurb about the homeowners tax relief as well, just so people can know that. So we've looked at the channels of doing town newsletters, church bulletins, using the Columbia Views to put that info out there. Energy assistance is still taking applications. Like to be expected, they've had a huge increase in applications coming through. Folks don't necessarily need to go through me this year. You can also apply online, but with that, there's been a ton of challenges where, they've said, people enter their information online. Workers then have to take that information and re-put it in. So there's been a bunch of challenges just in supporting people to use. A Connecticut local administrators of social services throughout Connecticut, which is about, I think it's like about 50 towns have representatives, and we're working together to work with Department of Social Services about a bunch of the different issues with energy assistance, because what I'm seeing is I might help a client fill out the application for energy assistance. They have 45 days to have it processed, and that hasn't been happening. Fortunately, access is helpful. If I reach out to them, they can say, we don't have this application, or okay, we can pull it and process it. But just for instance, one of the other agencies recently told our group that they have thousands of energy assistance applications on backlog, which is okay, maybe if you heat with electric, but if you heat with oil, you're waiting to get approved so that you can get your oil delivery. So some of the work there has just been following up with access, making sure that, if there's an issue with the application, if they can't find it, we're resubmitting it. So that's been a little bit difficult. It's still a great program because they don't have an asset test, it's strictly based on income. So, it helped a lot of seniors specifically. So I would still say it's worth it. It's just a little difficult. You probably heard, towns are getting this like opioid settlement fund. So I'm working with some local towns, have a meeting today just to, get an idea of how towns are going to be utilizing this money. Right now, I think we're thinking about using AHM to do more Narcan trainings, more like QPR trainings, see if they can run some of their smart recovery groups more targeted towards Columbia teenagers, Columbia people. Right now, they're being hosted in Hebron. Bernadette and I have talked about, initially we thought maybe having like a drop box for medication disposal would be really nice to have, as
Yeah.
but makes sense. Those have to be at police stations, or certain pharmacies can apply to have them. So now kind of advertising to seniors, you can dispose of medicine at a couple, patients. I think Troop K has one, and then Willimantic PD has one. And then Bernadette suggested using, she has, I forget what they're called, but like you can dispose of medicine on your own, like destroy the medicine. So having people come in to pick those up just as a way to reduce the amount of like pills out there. So yeah, just, trying to brainstorm how we can utilize that more. We also got a grant for a few $1,000s, like around vaping prevention. So we'll be planning that going forward. Food resources.
I'm sorry, Katie, you got $3,000 for what? Prevention?
It's like a vaping prevention grant.
Oh, vaping.
Oh, yeah, do that.
Which, previously we talked with the school a little bit about what they want to do. Maybe this year they'll want to do programming, but we did a billboard, and then we did a virtual presentation. We did a presentation at the senior center that actually kind of kicked off my wellness group. Some people attended that, and I think that was back in early summer. And that's another thing we've been doing. I've been doing a meeting once a month at the senior center, sometimes having speakers come in. If I can get a free speaker, do that, or just kind of do an activity. And now that I'm full-time and, Bernadette being accommodating, just thinking about increasing those meetings, because it seems to be pretty positive. People who come are usually pretty game for
I love her. She's great.
we're doing today. So I'm excited to build upon that. I think that's always the challenge. You do a program, are people going to show up? Especially if it's like a no budget program. So yeah, hopefully that will continue. And then food resources. I'm going to do a print of the different food resources with QR codes. That way people will receive a mailing. They can just, take a picture of the QR code, and I'll bring them to the mobile food share calendar, bring them to Hebron Interfaith has a new food pantry that's also open for Columbia residents. And then the senior center has ours with, non-perishables. There was about the holiday program that the church helped with. I think there were about 30 kids who they gave, gifts to. So those families, reaching out to them. There was also a group of people who didn't need toys, or said they were okay with toys this year, but going to reach out to them too. And I think there was about 12 seniors that they helped with holiday gifts or baskets with. So reaching out to them all by mail with just a full kind of food resource. But yeah, the other week I was at the senior center for the mobile food share. Bernadette has that like running really well with them.
Congratulations.
I think that day it was like the crummiest day. snowing, raining, and still like, what was it, like 70 plus people came through. But I think if
Over 80, yeah, wow.
it's such a nice alternative to canned goods, the food, being perishable, there's fruits, vegetables. So if people can go, it's an asset, I think, here at the city. Yeah, and then the other projects I guess we're working on is just making sure as part of our outreach that people who have medical equipment that's run by electricity know that the fire department can come out with a generator for loan. If they can buy a generator on their own but need help setting it up, the fire department can come out for that. So just making sure that people know about that, and that's something, again, like an asset here in Columbia that we can help with.
Great. Well, she's been busy. She has been.
Anybody have any other questions for Katie? Margie?
I remember a couple of years ago that Hebron had a drug box on the side where their state police office was.
Fire department, yeah.
Yeah, is that still there?
I think
Anybody know?
I talked to Trooper DeCarly, and I think he said, is that am I saying this right? Like Troop K, or is that Colchester?
That's
Colchester. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then they may not. I think Hebron hosts
The drug collection, they do, but
Yeah, they do.
last year they still had the drop off.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on
I don't know if they still do, but last year they did.
to the right of that building. I think that's where it was. And it was just a slot, and you just drop drugs from the slot.
Actually, now that you say it, I think state of Connecticut has a map. You plug in your zip code and it shows you, and Hebron did come up. So maybe I could double check with Trooper DeCarly or the police station there. If that's
Just
another.
Easier to go there than go to Colchester to drop them off.
Yeah. But yeah, if we can kind of push that as a way to just one way to remove prescription.
Yeah.
For mentioning that, especially if we're going to do, hey, drop these off.
Any other, Millie?
I just have a question. As part of the outreach, just to know what's happening for people, is there any outreach that goes to the people who get Meals on Wheels, so that if something else is going on in their home, or their health is deteriorating or something like that, that you would know about that?
I think drivers, give feedback to me or Bernadette. But I think what you're saying is, can I do different type of outreach to the actual recipient?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
It's just food for thought, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes I've delivered Meals on Wheels, and sometimes people have other issues going on that they might need help with.
Yeah.
And if their meals are being delivered, they probably are not going out a lot, or, whatever.
No, that's a good idea. Thanks.
What was that? Meals on Wheels could also inform people of what needs, what
if-
they need besides.
If I had like a little flyer I wanted to just stick in with the else, we could do that.
Absolutely. Mhm. Yes.
Do Meals on Wheels drivers get any training as far as what to look for when they drop off meals at people's homes?
I do.
Signs that there might be something else going on? Or is it, well, I certainly didn't have any training the few times I did it, but I'm just, wondering if there is such a thing so that you have a population that may have other issues. Here's a way to continue to help these people without it becoming a full-blown catastrophe or something.
When I have my volunteers come in to do the Meal on Wheels, I do talk to them about different signs, different things to look for, make sure they're okay. If things seem off, always respond to it no matter what. And they to call me or call TVCCA directly, and they will contact the emergency phone number for them if needed, or they'll bring out a response team, whatever the case may be. But I try to let my drivers know. I mean, my drivers that are there now are fully aware, to look. I mean, we are dealing with seniors. We have come across many incidents throughout the years, so it is a good place to find where we have issues with our seniors. And I know in my years I've learned just from delivering Meal on Wheels the problems that seniors are having in their homes. So I try my best to educate my drivers.
Sounds good.
It seems direct contact senior center whenever, that's what it seems like. If somebody isn't answering, or if something, looks off, it seems like communication of, as long as regular driver,
Yeah,
seem
but
like
your thought of a pamphlet or something that could go to those people is probably a good idea.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
can also ask TVCCA and the Meal on Wheels program if they have someone who can come out and speak with my drivers, a few helpful
They
hints
may,
as to what to look
they may already have something written up for things to
Right.
look for that they could give you, so not to have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, any other questions for Katie? Katie, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it. The other thing in new business was the Route 66 corridor meetings. And I know, Joanne, you weren't part of our group at that point. There were towns along Route 66, Columbia being the last on this end and Portland being the other end, would get together, and Colchester was also part of that. They would meet every couple of months. Each town would host it that wanted to, and they would talk about what's going on in their communities. So their senior centers, politically, what they're doing, available programs that they've started, and common problems. One that I remember very specifically, when they had a speaker come in about bullying, seniors bullying other seniors at senior centers.
Mhm.
So they'll take whoever hosts it, kind of finds a speaker to talk about something universal. And the woman that started it, for personal reasons, no longer could do all the mailings and all the organization and all that. So then COVID hit. So everything kind of came to a screeching halt. And they are restarting that. So the woman, one of the people that was actively involved the first time around, reached out to Bernadette, who then sent the stuff to me. Would we be interested in continuing to do that? And I think it was really interesting and beneficial. So I did respond to her. I haven't heard anything back yet from her, but that's something that we're going to get back into, hopefully.
That's great.
Was there anything else for new business that anybody wanted to bring up?
I just wanted to quickly state, I forgot to mention that the senior center is doing the AARP free tax prep. They're here every other Thursday, starting February 2nd. So it's February 2nd and 16th, and then March 2nd and 16th and 30th.
Okay,
Anyone can just call us and we'll sign them up. They have to fill out an intake form and
okay, don't hear anything else for new. Need a motion to adjourn, and the time is what, 9:51?
Yes,
Okay, a motion to adjourn,
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
second? Margie, all in favor? Joanne, get healthy.
yes.
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
Does she have
Okay.
COVID? Oh,
And the flu.
Good to see everybody, and please, good health to everybody.
bye-bye.
Thank you, and I'll be
Bye.
sending out a follow-up email after I talk to Bev.
Thank
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, we're ending. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Can you give me Katie's phone number?